Today we're going to make this organically shaped cutting board out of a walnut slab. It's a great first-time woodworking project as the organic shape allows a lot of mistakes to be hidden and masked. So let's get started. I marked the slab where I wanted to make my cuts, and at the top I carefully looked and marked where I was going to have the neck of the board start. I then cut the slab with my circular saw. I ran the board through the planer to flatten the bottom. If you don't have a planer, you could easily use a belt sander and use that to flatten the bottom to make it so it doesn't wobble. I then flattened the surface. Again, a belt sander or even a random orbital sander would suffice. I sketched out a couple of designs for the neck, picked the one that I liked best, and then I adhered it to the board using some spray adhesive. Cut it out with my jigsaw, and the board was starting to take shape. I removed loose pieces of bark with a chisel. Then I scraped the edges so that all the fragile pieces were tapered a little bit. And then I sanded it with my random orbital sander and a 60 grit pad. There were a couple of cracks, so I mixed up some total boat epoxy and carefully filled the cracks. This would keep any splits from continuing as the board was used. The back had a pretty big divot, so I sanded it and created a dam using hot glue and painter's tape to hold the epoxy in place while it cured. It wasn't pretty, but it got the job done. After letting the epoxy set up overnight, I removed the painter's tape and scraped the excess epoxy away with a card scraper. You could also use a razor blade and sandpaper to get the same result. The back had a lot more to trim, so I ended up using a paint scraper before using the card scraper. I sanded the neck with a belt sander, and then I went to my oscillating sander to do the rounded areas, and then continued with my random orbital sander on an 80 grit. I used this to get the finished shape that I wanted. And you can see that I was using the edge of the pad so that I could get in the crevices without flattening them. After I finished rough sanding, I switched to a 220 grit and repeated the process. I used a 1/4 inch Forstner bit to drill a hole in the middle of the handle for hanging. I had a little bit of blowout in the back of the piece, which could have been avoided had I put a backing board in, but was easily fixed with a file. Then it was time to clean the piece with a cloth slightly dampened with paint thinner, and then I poured mineral oil. Revealing a lot of coloration and grain pattern. Off camera, I did 2 more coats. Then, I used a beeswax butcher's block conditioner, and I let a nice healthy coating of that sit on it for about 12 hours before buffing it to a nice sheen. This would help to protect it from use and make it last for years. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe.